All right then. So in order to bring this newsletter section, before start doing that, I'm just going to close other than this. Then I need to make some commits. So changes, which is going to be other sections done, committed. Perfect. All right. Now, right after here, I need to bring that news letter. Inside the components, let's bring the newsletter component. And let's mark this as the use client component, RAFC. Newsletter letter. So let me delete this unwanted import and let us bring this over here. That's weird. Oops, newsletter. That's the thing. Yes. Now we have that suggestions. Perfect. And if you check it out, we should be able to see that newsletter now. Now, all I have to do is to bring a section in order to cover this height. So I'm just going to get into this, and over here, I'm going to say class name. Width, of course, it's going to be full. And height, I'm going to fix this as a 96. Then BG, for the time being, I'm going to keep it as a gray, so in order to show the differences, and you should be able to see. Okay, 96, I think this is a bit too much, so let's go for 64 then. Okay, 64, it's much better. And let's make this as a position, as a relative position. Inside here, we are going to bring the image. So in order to bring this image, I need that image. This image. So I'm just going to get that image, export as the image as the SVG itself. So I'm going to bring that into public assets SVG. Close this. And I'm going to keep this as the finance. Or it's better to download it as the SVG itself. Sorry, that JPEG itself. I think that's more than good. So let's bring that from the image and let me keep this as the finance. Okay, so I think the image is breaking. No. Yes, now it's perfectly fine. Okay, so let's get back over here. First, I need to bring that image, right? So image from the next image, and the source, which is going to be slash assets slash images slash finance dot jpg. Then it needs to fill completely. Then class name, it's going to be width. Of course, it should take the complete width, and height, of course, complete height. An object should cover the entire length, and the alternative text for this, it's going to be bg. Now we should be able to see that. And here I'm going to bring one absolute division in order to cover that entire top of it, and which is going to be the absolute position, and it should cover the entire length of that relative division. Then I'm going to say bg black of 10%. So that should insert, I think insert property is not working. Width full, height full, z index 10, or let me remove this black color. Okay, it is working. Let me check it out one more time. Insert 0. Okay, it's working. And here I'm just going to get the 50% of the black color. I think this should be even a little bit darker. 60 then. I think 680. Nope. 70. It's much better. Okay. So for this, all I have to say over here, if you check it out over here, you can see we having two different sections. Okay, so let's change this into a grid grid column 1, and on the medium devices onwards, grid column, it should be 2, and the gap needs to be 4. Inside here on the very first section, I'm gonna create a division, and that is going to be in the flux directions. Flux items should be on the starting point, justify it on the starting point, and flux needs to be column, and gap needs to be 4. Here I'm gonna bring an h1 tag, which is going to be text size of 2xl, and then the color needs to be text orange of 400, which is going to be news letter. Then I'm gonna bring a paragraph tag, and let's get into the chat GPT, ask to give us generate a quote for the newsletter section. So that is going to give us a quote for that particular section. I'm gonna copy that and I'm going to paste it straight away over there. So that is supposed to looks like this. So then for this, I'm gonna increase the padding needs to be 6, so that it should be looks like that. And for this, I'm gonna say class name, text needs to be a base size, base, then text needs to be gray 100, something like that. Okay, and then we need to bring that email section over here. So all we have to, let's say in the starting, sorry, instead of starting point, let's keep it as the center. Nope, this needs to be in the center. So just like this, now it is exactly in the center location. Then right after this division, that's the second one, I'm gonna create one more div, class name, width full, height full, flex, item center, justify everything in the center. Then I'm gonna create myself a division, and here I'm gonna bring one more input placeholder, your email here. Then I'm gonna bring myself a button which is going to say subscribe, just like that. Then for this division, I'm just going to say class name, flex item center, and justified center. We need to have a border, and the border needs to be gray slash 50% of its color, and rounded, it's going to be medium. I think let's remove the border, that should be appropriate. Perfect. And for this, I'm going to customize the class name. Class name bg needs to be transparent. Okay, and then on focus, ring offset 0, ring offset 0. So that should remove this focus thing. And I'm gonna remove the border, needs to be none, outline, that is also needs to be none. So now that is no border and nothing. And now we can add that border over here. Border and border gray needs to be the 20% of its color. All right, perfect. And then let's bring the padding each on all the sides, then rounded medium. Perfect. And for this button class name, I'm just going to say bg orange 400. Save this. Now that should looks better. And for this input, I'm just going to increase the width a little bit, so let's say 40 something, then 48. Okay, even much more that. These are just trial and error, so you can adjust until you feel satisfied. And the text color needs to be gray 50, text needs to be the LG size. So that's how it looks. Perfect. Okay, so I think this is more than enough. Now all we have to do is to, whenever the user clicks their email address, and once it is done, I need to verify that whether that email is a valid email or not. Once it is verified, I need to save these details into our subscription table. So in order to do that, all I have to do is to get into the schema, and here I'm just going to say model subscription. Open it. ID needs to be int, and it is going to be at ID, then at default auto increment. Then we need to make the user ID reference, because user ID. Then I need to keep the email, that is going to be the string, and we need this I think user ID is also not necessary. Just we need the email address, and we can mark that email address needs to be the unique email address. Unique email. That's more than enough. Then let's get into stop the server, and all we have to say is to pnpm clear pnpm prisma generate. We need to generate the client first, then pnpm prisma db push the changes into our database. So that is going to push those changes into our database. Once it is done, now we need to write the server actions to, in order to trigger this, in order to do these things. Okay, so now all we have to do is to go ahead and create the server actions. So let me get into the actions. So I'm going to create a new folder called actions, and inside the actions I'm going to create a file called subscription.ts file. Okay, so over here what I'm going to do is, first I need to create a class in order to, if there is no user not found, so I'm just going to say class user not found. That's a custom class error which I'm going to create for myself. It's going to extend the property of the error class. Okay, then right after here I'm going to say export const create subscription, which is going to be an call an arrow function, which it's going to be an asynchronous function. And inside here, first I need to access the user, right? So I'm just going to say const user is equals to await. Let's get the current user. So if there is no user, all we have to say, okay, so over here I'm just going to say if there is no user, then I just need to throw new user not found error. Okay, that is going to be thrown if there is user is not found. Then I'm just going to say const I need to send the email over here. Email, we'll get the email as the string data type, and we will access that email. So here I'm just going to say const subscription is equals to await get the database instance. From the database I'm going to access this subscription. We did generated the subscription, right? But why it is not showing? It's showing user, it's showing the inquiry, but it is not showing the subscription. I'm wondering why. So let me pnpm prisma generate. It's saying that it is generated, but still it is not working. So let me reload the window and let's check it out. Sometimes it might happen, so it's better to reload your window or restart your PC. So db Yep, now it's working. db.subscription.create, open it. Then I need to supply the data to it, which is in case it's going to be the email itself. That's more than enough. Okay, save it. And once all these things, if I don't have the subscription, if it has not been created, then in that situation, I just need to say throw new error as something went wrong. Just this message. All right. So right after here, if everything is done perfectly, all I have to say return dot the subscription, whatever the subscription has been created, I just need to return it. Return the subscription ID. Okay. So this is all we have to do over here. Yes. So now our server action is ready. Now all we have to do is to make sure that it's working perfectly. So let's restart our server. So npm run dev, and all I have to do is to refresh this. And whenever we get this email, now when I click this, all I have to do is to on click. When I click this, I'm just going to say handle subscription. Okay, so and I need to access something over here called we need to get the state. So all we have to say use state snippet, which is going to be email, and by default it is going to be an empty string. Okay, so I'm going to access the value over here, value prop for this, which is going to be the email itself. Then on change, whenever there is a changes it's happening, I'm going to access that event, then set email into that event dot, let's get that event and access the target, then I get that value out of it. That is going to be done. Then now we have those things, and I need to create this function handle subscription, and right after here const handle subscription is equal to an asynchronous function. Okay, this is the function, this is the place where we are going to call that thing. Okay, so save this. And before that, I need to get that toast notifications, right? So I need to get that toast notifications, which is the alert notification, which we don't have that yet, right? Yep. Or now let's go ahead and create that alert notification. So here in the chat CN search for Sonar, if you trigger this, you can see it's giving us this nice pop-up alert notifications, right? So I'm going to use this one, copy it, and let's go ahead and add that one. It has been added. Now all I have to do is to use this toaster. Okay, so I'm going to create myself a custom provider. So let me create the providers, and inside this provider I'm going to say toast provider dot tsx. Mark this as the use client. Then and all I have to is to say export const toast provider is equals to a callback function, and it is going to return this toaster, which is coming from add components Sonar. And here I just need to add the position, but I need to define the position, which is going to be come from the bottom right position. Then it needs to be rich in colors, because if it is success, I need to show it in the green or something like that, right? So if you want to learn much more about this Sonar, click that their official documentation, and you can play around with their positions, types, and how you want to keep it, whether you want to expand it. Like whenever you trigger it, this is how it's been expanded. If you keep it default, this is how it looks. So you can play around with these options, and you can keep and configure it on your toaster provider. And now all I have to do is to get into the app and get into our providers, and right after your header or right top of it, I just need to say bring that toaster provider. That's it. Now the toaster will work perfectly. And if everything is working right after here, all I have to say const subscription. Let's say subscription is equals to we're gonna get the subscription ID from the server function. I'm just going to say server await create subscription, and I need to supply this email address. And before that, I need to validate the email address. So let's go ahead and ask the chat GPT, write the validation script to validate the email using regular expression. Okay, so that is going to write us the validation function. So all we have to do is to use this regular expression. So I'm going to copy this regular expression, that is what I need. Okay, then if I'm going to say if the email dot regular expression dot test, I'm going to get that email field email. If this is valid, then do this stuff. Otherwise, else, I'm just going to say return. I'm not going to do anything inside the else part. So once everything is done, all I have to say toast dot message, which is going to be subscribed. Description. Thank you. Description is going to be this. Thank you for the subscription. Something like that. We will keep you posted. Okay, that's the message that we are trying to do. And I'm just going to say console.log that subscription ID, because I need to make sure whether it is working or not. So we are getting okay, so it's asking to use this in the server component. So let me delete this one. So we can't use the use state. That's the thing. Okay, so issue is not this issue. It's saying that it can be used only inside a server component. Then we need to mark this as a server component. Use server. That should fix that issue. Yep, now it can understand this is going to be the server component. So now we can use exactly the same thing. Okay, now let's check it out. If everything is working fine, and if I click the inspect elements, and if I scroll all the way to the bottom, and I should be able to see the email. And the problem is this division, it's not accessing the full width. It always needs to take the width as full instead of the width as 60. It needs to be full. And for this padding, it needs to be 4. Yes. Click the console. Now here I'm just going to say email, let's say victory@gmail.com. and now if I click subscribe, yeah, it's saying subscribe, thank you for the subscription, we will keep you posted. And now if I get back to the database and if I refresh this, there we go. Sorry, here subscription, see, ID victory@gmail.com, something like that. Okay, so once it's done, all I have to say this as set email as an empty one. That's it. That's all I have to do. So once it is done, all we have to do is to just reset that option. Perfect. Now we did that thing. Now we will have the subscriptions and everything. Okay, so next all we have to do is to go ahead and fix that footer section, and that is what we are going to do next.